Next up, and the third time in 4 games that we're having an SEC versus ACC preview here, number 13 South Carolina against Virginia Tech in Atlanta on Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN. The storyline to know, Dalton, it's the Battle of the Beamers, man. Because the first time since 1991 that South Carolina is playing Virginia Tech, in that game in 1991, Virginia Tech's head coach was Frank Beamer. He was the Hokies head coach for 29 years, and he was so good there, he was inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame in 2018. His son, Shane Beamer, played for him at Virginia Tech from 1995 to 1999, and he spent 5 years under his dad as an assistant coach from 2011 to 2015. So Shane Beamer, a lot of ties with Virginia Tech too, but he's now the head coach at South Carolina. Last year, South Carolina top 20 in the AP poll, their best final ranking in over a decade. 2013 was the last time. Ja'Davion Clowney's final year at South Carolina was the last time they were ranked that high in the final AP poll. And Shane Beamer has legitimate college football playoff aspirations this year with a star quarterback in Lenore Sellers. But that all starts this week against Virginia Tech, Dalton, in a stadium that has a statue of his dad outside of the stadium. So he's going into enemy/friendly territory there. Shane Beamer is at Virginia Tech, his alma mater. So yeah, I'm really excited to watch the Battle of the Beamers.
Isn't this game in Atlanta, Mercedes-Benz?
Oh, sorry, Atlanta.
Right, this game neutral, but that
still
that would be a problem.
So I'm saying Battle of the Beamers between.
It's a thing. So. Listen, here's the thing with South Carolina. All right, here we go. You're going to talk about a big 230-plus pound quarterback that's really athletic and has a huge arm, and everybody's favorite draft prospect with the tools who has all those things like in Lenore Sellers, right, that everybody likes. Virginia Tech's kind of sort of got a guy like that of their own in Kyron Drones, right? And Drones is kind of the forgotten guy. He ended last season hurt. There was some struggles. Obviously, Virginia Tech went 6-7. But, one thing I'm looking at matchup-wise here, I've been saying with South Carolina, they lost a ton of pieces on this defense. And it was the top 5 defense in the country last year to me. When you look at all the pieces they lost, Kyle Kennard, Tonka Hemingway, TJ Sanders, Demetrius Knight, Bam Martin-Scott, right? Nicky Manwari. A lot of the best players in this defense, especially up front, are not on this team anymore. They lost their 3 starting linebackers. They lost 4 of their top 5 defensive tackles. Virginia Tech wants to come in here and run the football. South Carolina last year, pass rush, elite, coverage, elite. Still 28th in the country in run defense grade, but it wasn't quite as good as their pass defense, right? And in games where they gave up at least 140 rushing yards, they went 4-4. So clearly, if you can match the physicality of this South Carolina team, you give yourself a chance, okay? Obviously, Virginia Tech, I've mentioned, similar offense, run the ball, play action shots downfield over the top. Kyron Drones is 235 pounds, 82 rushing grade over the last 2 years, top 20 mark among quarterbacks, 17th among that group with 49 missed tackles forced, 13th with 46 explosive runs. He's a problem. I think when you talk about some of the most mobile quarterbacks in the country, Kyron Drones is really a problem. And now you talk about returning Jeremiah Coney at linebacker. Terrion Stewart, the Bowling Green transfer, is a missed tackle machine. Watch some of the Bowling Green tape. He just refuses to go down. Braden Bennett from Coastal Carolina. Also, this is a deep stable of rushers that I think if Virginia Tech can find a way to get in a rhythm with the run game early, and then hit a couple play-action shots because Drones is way better on play-action than he is without. He's got a 90 play-action passing grade over the last 2 years. If Virginia Tech can get the wheelhouse of their run game going, I think this is a problem for South Carolina. There's not a ton of experience in their front 7 right now. You've got Dylan Stewart and Brian Thomas Jr. off the edge. But you look at their defensive tackle situation, and you look at their linebackers situation, there's a lot of missing pieces from last year's defense. It would not shock me at all if in this game Virginia Tech has a lot of success running between the tackles. And even you've mentioned with Dylan Stewart, the reason that he was number 2 in the edge rankings behind Colin Simmons is because Colin Simmons is a better run defender.
Yeah.
Dylan Stewart, mediocre run defense. This front 7 for South Carolina is going to have a challenge with Kyron Drones and this rushing attack that gives a lot of different looks. If they have issues early, I think there's a chance here that Virginia Tech's run game could really cause a problem for a very new South Carolina front seven.
And South Carolina's run game can also cause a problem for Virginia Tech because Lenore Sellers is back there at quarterback. And Rasul Faison, right, is officially
He was declared eligible yesterday. Yeah.
Big time news for South Carolina as well. But Lenore Sellers, really the matchup to watch on that side of the ball. Can Virginia Tech limit the big plays from Lenore Sellers? You see right there, he is a big game hunter. 4th best deep passing grade in college football last year. Most forced missed tackles among all Power 4 quarterbacks last year. No quarterback in America has the physical tools that Lenore Sellers does. In fact, the only comparisons you can make are like Cam Newton, Anthony Richardson. Those are the types of athletes you have.
Freaks.
Just freak athletes. And both those guys were top 5 picks in their drafts. A lot of people think Lenore Sellers can be a top 5 pick in the 2026 NFL draft. He is a home run hitter, but also he strikes out a lot like early career Aaron Judge, big power hitter for the Yankees, but struck out a lot. Now he's obviously one of the best players
Just had to get a Yankee
in baseball.
in there,
Had to get it, of course. But Lenore Sellers, 70.9 passing grade on attempts under 20 yards last year. That was 87th in the country, well below average on short and intermediate throws last year. Also, 4.6% turnover-worthy play rate was the second highest in the SEC last year, and 11 fumbles last year were the second most among Power 4 quarterbacks. Virginia Tech last year had a really good defense, a top 30 defense in the country in terms of EPA per play. However, they were 85th in explosive pass rate allowed at almost 15%, and they were 89th in coverage grade last year, below a 70 coverage grade as a team. They also struggled with dual threat quarterbacks last year too. 7 of the 14 quarterbacks that they played last year had at least 50 rushing yards against Virginia Tech last season. So Lenore Sellers, as maybe the best rushing quarterback that we have in the country, or at least one of the 5 best in the country, with one of the biggest arms in the country as well, who wants to take those deep shots, is a really good Va-Tech defense, but also it's one that gives up big plays from last year at least, and also doesn't really do well against dual threat quarterbacks. If Virginia Tech can make Lenore Sellers win inside of the pocket in the short and intermediate range, the Hokies have a chance at upsetting South Carolina.
Yeah, I think controlling the game, the pace of the game is going to be big for them. Sellers, look, he's going to get what he gets on the ground, right? And Virginia Tech, as always, are going to have a pretty good pass rush led by Ben Bell up front. I think you mentioned it. You prevent explosives, and you talk about beginning to, have an answer for Sellers. The big thing I do like that South Carolina did late last year was not be quite so reliant on them. They got better the second half of the year, creating yards after catch for some of their weapons on the outside. They'll be replacing Josh Simon at tight end. I think that could be something of a task early here in the season. But you mentioned it. You can't let him hit the home runs. If he gets 2 or 3 of them and he turns the game upside down with one 80-yard throw, then it's going to be a wrap here pretty quick. I think Virginia Tech does need to control the pace. They need to win time of possession, keep Sellers off the field for as much as you can, but also if you have a chance to bring him down, Clemson had this problem last year for sure. If you have a chance to bring him down, you better get him down because he can do it with his legs too at any point, 60, 70, 80-yard run as well.
So in the battle of the Beamers, will Shane Beamer beat his alma mater and a program that his dad really built up, or will Virginia Tech pull off a massive upset on Sunday?
I think this game is closer than people think. I think Virginia Tech's run game, with the inexperience of South Carolina's front seven, I think could be a serious problem if they get it going. We're going to know early. We're going to know very early. If Virginia Tech gets a lead in this game, I think you have some real danger here for South Carolina. I do. And their wide receivers, for as much as Nick Harbor and those guys, they're all coming back. I do like that their top 3 receivers are all retained from last year. I do think we need to see one of those guys get proven. Most people are expecting Nick Harbor, the big 6'5", 230-pound freak out there who can run like the wind. They need somebody to be their top guy this year because they really didn't have that last year. It was just Sellers creating. I'm taking South Carolina. I have it razor thin. There is a story came out this morning, I believe, about Caleb Woodson, Virginia Tech's middle linebacker, who was arrested overnight, either last night or the night before, and he is uncertain to play in this game. We heard that from Brent Pry before the show came on. Uncertain to play in this game, very concerning. He was their highest graded run defender returning to this team, which is an issue. I think that makes a difference. And I do think Rasul Faison being named eligible for this game in time, and he's been practicing. He got a waiver to practice already, so it's not short on practice time. It just they weren't sure if he was going to play in any games. NCAA clearing that, I think, is a huge boost. He had a great year at Utah State last year.
And we saw how important Rocket Sanders was to that offense last year.
Absolutely.
Too.
This is still for as much as everybody's talking about Sellers, this is still a team that's going to want to run the football, right? And with face on, now you have Isaiah Augusta who can go as the two-back, as the goal line guy. He's more bigger, physical Oscar Attaway from last year. You got a really good crew now with face on to me as the headliner plus Sellers running the ball. I have it close. I don't like the Woodson development at all because, again, he was their highest-graded run defender returning to this team. I have it written down 31-30. I'm starting to think it might be closer to the score that you have here, but I do think this is going to be a tighter game than people think, a one-score game. But I have South Carolina 31-30, at least on paper for now. Don't like what we've heard the last few hours on the Virginia Tech side.
So you like Virginia Tech plus 7.5?
Yeah, I'm in on that. That's a good number. The 7.5 is a good number, and I do have my questions about this South Carolina defense responding to so many losses. One thing I also think works in their favor, though, the secondary with Jalen Kilgore and those guys is still going to be pretty good. I got a lot of questions about Virginia Tech's wide receivers and what exactly they have out there. I think that's a big advantage for South. If they can get if they get ahead of Virginia Tech and they make them drop back and throw the football, then I think the Hokies have a lot of problems. If Virginia Tech can get a lead and they can run the ball with some success early and Drones gets rolling on the ground, then we got a tight football game.
Yeah, I have South Carolina winning 28-21. I just think the North Southern is going to have a huge day against this defense that lets up a lot of big plays, deep passing plays last year, lets up a lot of rushing yards from quarterbacks. Rasul Faison's eligible too. It could be close, but I do think Sellers will have a good day, and I think Shane Beamer will take down his alma mater in this one too. 28-21 South Carolina over Virginia Tech. When I apologize to the Virginia Tech faithful, I said Vatech earlier. I remember last year we called them Vatech. They got very upset at us in the comment section.
I thought that was the West Virginia people.
Oh, West Vot too. So I think Vatech might be okay. West Vot people got really mad.
We'll have to do a poll.
Maybe Vatech people got mad too.
We got to do a poll on who that's
Maybe we should stop saying Va in general.
Probably.
Yeah, probably should. So I want to apologize. If you do get mad at that, I want to apologize.
Use proper names around here.
Virginia Tech.
Maximilian.
Virginia Technical Institute. I think we'll lose to South Carolina this one. 28-21.